What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your host, Kory Willis. I hope you all are doing well on a Monday. Almost that time, of course. We got Thanksgiving coming up, so I hope you guys are getting ready for Turkey Day, enjoying it with your friends and family, and also getting a chance to watch some football during the holiday weekend, of course. Got NFL games coming up. Some college games coming up. My favorite, of course, the Egg Bowl. I think me and my partner Chris know all about that game.
Boy, do we?
Yeah, exactly. but yeah, we hope you guys are doing well out there today on a Monday. As always, we appreciate you guys listening in on the show. We're on many different streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms. So we very much appreciate you guys listening in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. It lets us know what we're doing and how we can improve the show for the future for you guys. So, like I said, we very much appreciate your support with the show. As always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host. You just heard him just a second ago. He is Chris Bolton. What's going on, Chris?
What's good, Kory?
Not much, man. Not much. Well, how's everything going on your way?
Man, everything is good. Another fun weekend of CFB, college football. We had some blowouts, some squeakers. Some wins, you know what I'm saying? Win by the hairs on the chin, and we had a couple upsets mixed in there too. So I think overall a solid weekend.
I think so. I think we had a really good weekend of college football. You know, we always have those weekends where you just stuff a ton of out of conference foes into the slate, but you still get to see your top plays of the day. Some upsets, of course. I mean, just think about those people down there in the Auburn, Alabama right now, Chris. Like, what those people think about right now? The New Mexico State people are just like celebrating right now.
Man,
money in their hand.
Who are you telling? There was a little bit of funkiness that went down, but that's I don't think anybody saw that coming. Honestly,
I don't think so either. I mean,
31-10 at Auburn, at Jordan Hare.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, Jerry Kill, he came in there with a killer ink stick.
Man.
Pun
intended. Even Mississippi State beat Southern Miss.
I know. That game was crazy. I sat there and watched pretty much I'd say like the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, and Auburn had no answer. Like they were like shell shocked. I was surprised.
It was a tough day for them, man. When you look at the box score, your quarterback only threw for 148 yards, and you had 65 rushing.
It's not gonna get you any wins. That's for sure.
Man, that's not gonna win anything.
Nah.
Couldn't sustain a drive. New Mexico State doubled up total yardage on them, essentially 414 to 213. Nearly doubled up time of possession. That's not necessarily a stat that tells you who wins the game, but when it's nearly 2-1, a lot of times that team that had the ball twice as long wins. So
yeah, that's rough. Like hey man, look, I that's the reason why we don't get paid the big bucks to be the head coaches, of course. But I mean, I think anyone can see this. I think a squirrel on the side of the road can see that. This Auburn team, they dropped the ball big time.
This team this team will look a lot different next season. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So
Hugh is going to get some of his boys in there. He's going to change things up a lot. The offense can't be this anemic next year.
no, it can't. You got Texas, OU coming into the space. You got to be much more competitive than that.
Yeah. I guarantee that. So I'm curious to see what the line would be for wins for Auburn next year. Because if it's like anything, if it's like 6.5, I would definitely be going over on that because I think he's going to change things up for sure.
He's gonna strip. He's just gonna strip the Band-Aid off like Dion is going to right after the season.
Exactly.
Just gonna create a big overhaul of the whole team, especially the defense that needs it.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, for sure. But man, like we said, it was another good weekend, and the marquee matchup of the weekend, despite the elements, did not disappoint, did it, Kory?
No, it didn't. It didn't. I mean, like we had a ton of games that high stakes were involved, of course, and this was a week where a lot of your top teams in the country, they had to show up and show out, and that leaves us to one of the top games of the weekend. We had number 5 Washington, Chris, going to Corvallis, Oregon, to take on the Oregon State Beavers, number 11 Oregon State Beavers.
Mm-hmm.
This game went down pretty much to the wire. Both quarterbacks, they were battling each other till the end, but there could be only one team standing, and that was the Washington Huskies. They defeated the Beavers 22-20, and now Washington is 11-0. Oregon State is now 8-3. Washington still undefeated, I should say, and yeah, they're riding high. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday with the CFP rankings coming up. So Michael Penix Jr., he was 13 for 28, 162 yards with 2 touchdowns. DJ Uiagalelei, he was 15 for 31, 164 yards with 2 interceptions. So the defense for Washington definitely stepped up when they needed to in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And Adunze for Washington, as always, he stepped up.
Adunze is a dog, man.
7 receptions, 106 yards with 2 touchdowns. So that's all you need to know.
Like, we talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. so much, and rightfully so, but we talk about the number 2 wide receiver in the nation. I think Adunze is right there in that conversation.
I agree. He's a beast. he's one of them dogs, as what Kirby Smart always likes to talk about with his team.
Mm-hmm. He is. He just makes big plays, and in similar fashion to a guy we saw a lot of, AJ Brown. He just always finds himself in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like it's almost every game he gets at least one touchdown. Mm-hmm. This one he had 2.
Yeah, he's just a freak of nature, man. Like, good luck trying to defend him. Just good luck, because you're in for a treat. That's all I can say. He's just a very talented wide receiver, and Washington's lucky to have him. He's definitely helping them keep that undefeated streak alive. I will say that.
For sure.
But Washington's now 11-0. Because of what we know now with the Jordan Travis situation. Of course, he got hurt over the weekend, Chris, which
Mm-hmm.
is terrible. We wish him a very speedy recovery. Knowing that that injury could very well affect Florida State, and knowing how the committee for the CFP looks at injuries along with everything else throughout the season with each team.
Mm-hmm.
What, where does that put Washington at now? Do you think that there's a scenario where they bump up Washington just because they feel like um, just by the eye test they are in that top 14
I
officially?
think I think there is a case. Um, I think there's also a world where college football is somehow works itself out, and Florida State receives a loss in one of their next two matchups, whether it's against a Florida team or if it's against Louisville in the ACC championship game. But I think you have to, if you're the CFP, go ahead and put Washington ahead, because it would be weird if Florida State wins out and then all of a sudden you make that switch later. Um, but I think if you go ahead and set the precedent now that that loss of Travis is in effect, then things can be forgiven if their records remain the same throughout. But I do think it does. It's a huge impact. Travis was a core reason in them being where they are now, Florida State. Um, he's had huge performances throughout the season, and he's the starting quarterback. I mean, an experienced guy, and not just a game manager, an actual playmaker for this Florida State team. So he's not just you're not just losing your quarterback; you're losing one of the three most important players in on this team, on this roster. So I mean, I can see them moving them down, to a number five ranking, and having them as the undefeated team ahead of the one, like the last undefeated team ahead of the other viable contenders with one losses, with Alabama, Oregon, and Texas being right there behind them.
Yeah, yeah, like, I was asking that question in a way of just kind of getting what you thought about it, and pretty much what you said is where I feel like as well. I don't think that, like, let's say if there's a scenario where they went out without Jordan Travis, I mean that's still remarkable. I think they should still have a case if the opportunity presents itself for them to still be in the college football playoffs. They just won't have Jordan Travis out there, but they would have to win out, and they would probably have to have a little bit of chaos. Of course, they would have to. I would say have to see what happens between pretty much this coming week between Ohio State and
In
Michigan.
Michigan. Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, that's a very important game.
That's a national semifinal game. Honestly, low key, you know what I'm saying? It's a playoff game.
Right. So it's just being played during the regular season. So yeah, it's not that their playoff hopes are diminished. It's just because Washington is still undefeated right now. They still have pretty much like all of their pieces. Michael Penix is there. Everyone's clicking on all cylinders. Could this be the week where the committee finally puts them in the top four?
I can see that. especially when you look at how Washington won. It wasn't the prettiest win, but this win was kind of different with the fact that they were battling the elements and on the road. Their rushing attack was solid in this game. Didn't run for 100 yards with Dylan Johnson, but it was a solid rushing game, and the defense did what they had to do. Forced DJ into 2 interceptions. He didn't look comfortable all game and held things down for the last quarter, where that thing was a 2-point game. The defense took them home. Oregon State should, very well probably are saying we should have won this game. Everything was on their side to win this game with how they pressed back at the end to come back. That place was rocking. And Michael Penix, you don't normally have games where he throws for less than 300 yards, let alone less than 200.
Right.
That was the case in this one. This was the opportunity. But the defense did what they had to do, and then the Huskies came away with the win.
Yeah. It was a very impressive win for the Huskies. And, yeah, it's one of those questions that I'm eager to get from the committee this Tuesday with how they see Washington, because they're playing better now. They're figuring out what they were doing wrong during that midpoint of the season, and like they're poised now to close out strong. But now we're just looking as fans, of course, to see what the committee thinks about them, because both them and Oregon are playing out of their minds right now. I mean, we saw what Oregon did this weekend against Arizona State. Had no chance.
Man, we told you. Don't worry about the spread. Oregon is going to do what they do, and they did what they did.
Exactly. So it's definitely one of those things where I'm very eager to see what happens on Tuesday. Yeah, just because both of these teams are playing well right now. We know what's going on with Florida State. We got the big game coming up this weekend between Ohio State and Michigan. So there's a lot of moving parts.
There's a whole lot. I mean, Washington still has to play in the Apple Cup against Washington State.
Yeah.
Not a bad team.
No.
By any means. They beat the same Oregon State team 44-6, I believe, earlier this season.
Yeah. No one envisioned that.
I mean, the Washington State isn't bad at all. Rivalry games are crazy. Oregon State can get jacked up for this Oregon game. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough just throughout the landscape to clutch out these last regular season wins, and for teams in the conference championship games to finish with a win in that as well.
Yeah.
These will be the 2 hardest earned victories, I think, of the season for a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's, I mean, we're at rivalry week, and then next week we're at conference championship game. So there's a lot of ground that needs to be made up. Pretty much from 1 through 6 at this point. So we'll definitely see what happens, of course. But a great win nonetheless for Washington, and like we said, we'll see what happens. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
No, sir. I was going to just say, speaking of hard-earned wins, my goodness, this next game we're about to talk about, Missouri threw everything out there to get this victory.
Look, Missouri. Look, Eli Drink was like, "Look, y'all ain't gonna catch me slipping today. All right, I look."
I'm
Look,
talking about a
Billy.
whole team effort. They dug deep for this one, Kory.
Oh yeah, they dug in the depths to get this win. So folks, if you didn't watch this game, so number 9 Missouri hosted the Florida Gators over the weekend, and they won this game by the hair of their chinny chin, 33-31. My man Harrison Melvis, he hit,
Hey,
he hit the game
another
winner.
one. Another one.
30-yard field goal. Man, look,
From a
man.
lot closer this time. It wasn't no 50-yarder.
I know this is what he does, man. Look, you just tried this man out here, got ice in his veins. He's like, look, I'm gonna take us to victory.
Yeah, I'm gonna take us home.
Just trust my leg. I'm gonna get us to the promised land. All right. It's what Memphis does, man.
Man, oh man.
But yeah, this game was crazy. I saw some highlights where, man, Florida was just battling back. Like every time Missouri went downfield and scored, Florida just figured out ways to go downfield and score as well. So it was insane.
The game plan was flawless, man. I
It
mean,
was.
they kept Missouri off the field for a majority of the game. They ran the football for over 200 yards, had 261 rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
You put Graham Mertz in position where he just, had to be a manager and make a few plays, and he made a few plays. So this wasn't a badly executed game at all by Florida. It's just, Missouri, they hit on a couple explosives, and then they got that final drive, in the last minute, and got the win. It's a tough one.
It's a
tough one for Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like you said. Graham Mertz, when he needed his players to step up, they stepped up. Of course. They had well over 200 yards. They had 261 yards rushing. Of course, EDN, he had a touchdown, and Ricky Pearsall, he also had a rushing touchdown as well. That was one of the plays I did see from Pearsall. But yeah, like for Graham Mertz, he was 14 for 21, 183 yards with 2 touchdowns. He also did throw 1 interception, and he ended the day with a 78.3 QBR rating. Brady Cook, he was 20 for 34 with 331 yards and 1 touchdown. Cody Schrader, he had 23 carries, 148 yards with 1 touchdown. And I want to say Cody Schrader now, I think he has the most rushing yards in a season of any
Missouri tailback?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was close at breaking that record against Tennessee, I think. But if you look back at the SEC, in 60-second videos, they actually went through and pretty much made a little mini documentary of Drinkwitz telling Cody that he only needed, I think, like 20 more yards to get that record, and he didn't want to do it. So I'm sure after this game, he has that record now. I am sure of it. But yeah. And another
Kory,
stat. What were you gonna say?
If I would have told you that Cook threw for over 300 yards, had 331. Cody Schrader had, over 100 rush yards, and then Luther Burden He hauled in 9 catches for 158 yards. You would have thought this was a blowout, wouldn't you?
Yeah. 331 yards passing. Like, yeah, I would have thought this was
And
a
Burton had
massacre.
158. But man, I guess Mizzou just had to ride with they went down with their guys.
They did.
Like the guys who have got us to this point, they were going to go out swinging. And I mean, Cook just locked in on Luther Burden, and I mean, for the most part, Luther couldn't be covered.
Hey, that's the story of every DB's life in the SEC East, isn't it? I can't cover Luther Burden the third. Like, I just can't.
Few have succeeded. We talked about Rome earlier, Rome Odunze. You know, Luther Burden is up there in that tier of receiver.
Oh yeah, the man just can't be. He will not be denied.
He won't. He's a legit guy, and he is somebody that we will continue to talk about as he'll continue his playing career on Sundays.
Absolutely, which I can't wait. I can't wait. Like I'm waiting right now as an avid fantasy NFL fantasy player,
owner and manager.
Yeah, I like playing with Luther Burden is gonna be fun. You have been warned. For anyone out there that plays fantasy football,
he will be selected by one of my many fantasy football teams next season.
Absolutely. So that should definitely be a good time right there. But yeah, the 158 from Burton.
Actually, not next season, in the following season. I'd be forgetting. Luther just a sophomore.
Yeah, he is just a sophomore. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, how old are you, dude?
He's like, just a sophomore still. Yeah. Oh my goodness,
that's a crime.
I mean, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school for a reason.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like this team is going to be back next year. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they should have Brady Cook back. Yeah. You should have Luther Burden back. Cody Schrader, I believe he'll be out of here, but
yeah, he'll be fun to watch on Sundays.
Right, and I'm sure Eli is already, he has his plans for another another running back next year. So, Mizzou will be just fine.
Yeah.
With big win for them though. This was the game that could have easily and almost was the game you give up in most normal seasons when you're having a better than anticipated year.
Mm-hmm.
This was the game that many times in years past you would have lost.
Oh yeah, it's right there where teams that you should be up against, like up heavily, like well into the game where they just won't. Yeah, well they just won't. They won't stop giving you that right hook. That's the point in time where you just kind of start to give up in your mind. You start to
especially also too fresh off of a beatdown win over Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this was prime for that game where you don't put it all together because you play. You're feeling yourself. You're smelling yourself.
Right.
Everybody's singing your praises.
Exactly. You kind of letting your guard up a little bit, of course.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the team starts to kind of push you around a little bit, are you really about that life? Of course, and it's usually when you catch those teams slipping that have been doing so well, that's usually when they fall. But Missouri did not do that over the weekend, so that really shows the want to of this team. This team
For
wants
sure.
to win. Like they're motivated, and it doesn't take a lot out of them to get motivated. So that's what really sets them apart from a lot of the other teams in the SEC right now. So I'm very much impressed with the Missouri team. I think by bowl time they should be in the New Year's Six bowl. I'm just
For
waiting to
sure.
see
I agree.
which one. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about that game, Chris, before we move on to our next game?
Yes, sir. We can keep it rolling.
All right. So now we are going to head to Iowa State, where the Iowa State Cyclones hosted number 7 Texas over the weekend. Yeah, this game. We just talked about Missouri kind of being bullied around a little bit. I actually watched this game, Chris, and there were times, of course, where Texas was getting bullied around a little bit. You kind of felt like the atmosphere was starting to kind of come down on them a little bit more throughout the game. But overall, Texas did escape with the W. They won this game 26-16. And
Typical Texas.
Typical Texas. Typical Texas. And yeah, this was a game, first half, starting very slow. Iowa State they were throwing downfield on Texas. It actually kind of showed a little it kind of showed that this Texas defense is mortal, of course.
Yeah, secondary is definitely a weakness on this defense.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like and we've known this since the beginning of the season, but it just showed more and more that the recipe to beat Texas is, hey, challenge those corners, and that's what Iowa State did. But of course, it wasn't enough to knock them out. So 26-16 was your score, and the Longhorns are now 10-1, and we'll see on Tuesday if that helps them bump them up a little bit in the CFP. And
I anticipate them to probably stay as is. Wasn't really an impressive victory. I think honestly, if you're Texas, you just try to you just win. It doesn't even matter how at this point, you just win and just let college football do what it does and see what happens to the other teams. And hopefully you're one of the last 4 standing.
Pretty much. It's funny because as I'm looking at the Big 12 conference standings right now, all signs look for them to. Well, who do they have to end the season with? Is it Texas Tech?
Texas Tech.
Okay, so they have Texas Tech. They should win that game, but if they can win that game, all signs leads to them potentially playing Oklahoma State in the conference championship. So we'll see what happens with that. I know a lot of us were kind of waiting on that Red River Rivalry 2 matchup just in the championship game, but
it might be OSU. Yeah,
it might be OSU, which is a team that at first, earlier in the season, a lot of people were wondering, like, Mike Gundy, what's going on, but they've kind of dialed it up. Of course, they have had a couple games where they've came up short, but it looks to be the team that's going to go toe-to-toe with Texas. So So yeah, overall for Texas, they're still finding ways to win. It's just, can they keep it up?
They are just an interesting case. I feel like they just have to. They just like things to be difficult.
I know.
Now, they just like difficult wins. They don't want it to be easy. They don't want it to be simple. They live for the chaos. It feels like I don't understand it. This wasn't a chaotic game by any means, but it just there's not three rosters more talented than Texas. This is a college football playoff roster from top to bottom. So, but we haven't received the performances that you would like to see from a team as talented as Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Week in and week out, we've talked about it. The best looking teams in the nation are Georgia, Oregon, and now I will put Alabama in that class.
Yeah.
They led the three best teams. Now the records, Alabama and Oregon have losses, and Alabama has a loss to Texas, which tells you when the lights are shining bright, that's when Texas likes to perform. But week by week, Bama looks better. Week by week, Oregon just looks like the better team. They have been more consistent in asserting their dominance against lesser opponents. And that's just all we kind of been waiting to see. And maybe we will get that against Texas Tech. Maybe we'll get that potentially against Oklahoma State. But until that happens, they're going to need a lot of help to make it in the CFB.
Yeah, and that's what makes Tuesday very interesting. This is actually, I feel like it's going to be one of the more interesting ranking shows of the season. Just because there's so many moving parts right now. With, like we said, Florida State, Texas is still winning and holding on to this one loss right now. Against Oklahoma. Bama's getting better, holding that one loss against Texas. Oregon's still waving their hands saying, hey, don't forget about us. It's
two matchups.
insane.
With two more ranked matchups left potentially on the schedule. If you want to beat Oregon State, who's a top 25 team, and Washington, who will be potentially a top 4 team. So
yeah, it's
still a lot of opportunity for them to continue to, better their resume.
Right. It just doesn't stop. It's so much at stake right now for pretty much all of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the CFP committee thinks about Texas and thinks about the rest of these teams as well. Of course. So what they always say, just keep winning. Just win, baby. Just
win, baby.
That's what everyone always says. So look, that's what the Texas, the Alabama teams, like that's what everyone's doing right now. Like they're just winning.
You can only can control your games. You can't, you can't control the voters and everything. Just play your game and go from there. So Texas, at least they are winning. It starts there. So and we'll see just how things play out. But they are winning, and that's all that matters. For now, that's all that matters.
Yep, that's all that matters. So yeah, we'll definitely see what happens on Tuesday, and we'll talk about it, of course. I know on a little bit on our prediction show as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on to our last game of the day?
No, sir.
Okay.
Nothing else to add to this. Just I just want to challenge Texas to be that team. I want to see 4 quarters of dominance against Texas Tech. That's all. That's all I have for Texas. Just a challenge. Be that team that we know you can be, that we thought you were the preseason, heading into the season. You know, be that team. We come on here and I do Bolton's bets, and I tell you I'm sticking with Oregon. No matter who they play, I'm sticking with Oregon. They are going to cover, and it is not failed. And it's a reason that Oregon will continue to be a best bet. Is because Oregon is dominant. Alabama covers, Georgia covers, Texas wins, and that's the difference in those teams.
Yep.
So I just want to challenge them to be that team that I know Texas can be.
Yeah. Look, if there was ever a week to come out very motivated to finish the season, the regular season, the way you kind of kicked it off with the Alabama game, is this week. You go out there, you take care of business against Texas Tech, you stamp that flag on the ground, and you say, "Hey, this is our state. We ain't going anywhere." And look, we don't even care about those guys that's 2.5 miles down the road if they jealous about it. Like, look, this is Texas, baby. This is Texas.
Exactly.
So no, I'm right there with you on that one. So we'll definitely see this coming week. So yeah, the last game that we'll talk about, Chris, we had number 22 Utah traveling to number 17 Arizona Wildcats. Number 17 hot Wildcats.
I need my jersey. I need to go ahead and order me a jersey, man. Hey, you know how I am about the Wildcats.
Yeah. I look, this team they're just remarkable. And all of the national media pundits are starting to see it as well. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this team is amazing."
Yes, baby. I'm on the bandwagon. Join us.
Join greatness.
Join us as we endeavor on this journey.
Exactly. but yeah, number 17 Arizona put a shellacking on Utah, 42-18. Chris, Arizona's now 8-3 of the season, and their last game of the season will be Arizona State. I would predict that they win that game by another huge margin as well, and that will put them at 9-3 of the season with a chance to have a 10-win season. And I know a lot of those Arizona fans are probably just stoked right now with what they're seeing on the field. So I'm going to give the floor to you, sir. What did you think about this performance from Arizona? And what do you think about them possibly getting 10 wins for the regular season? Getting an opportunity for 10 wins, I should say.
First off, it was the performance that I truly love seeing from this team. I felt like they had arrived, and they play like some guys who are much older than what they actually are. Utah is a program known for its tough defense and for winning games like this against teams who are feeling good about themselves and a little young and need to be brought back down to earth. Arizona said, "We're not coming back down to earth," and put a beat down on Utah. And right now, records aside, just based off the last half of the season, Arizona's one playing. There aren't 11 teams. There aren't 10 teams playing better football than Arizona. If we put records aside and just look at the games and how this team has played the last 5 weeks, they have played like one of the top 10 teams in the nation. And it's still inexplicable. I don't understand how this team lost to Mississippi State earlier this season. If they don't get 10 wins this year because they lost to Mississippi State, that would be something for the books. But
yeah, they should already be close at getting 10 wins with a potential 11 win season. This should be an 11-win season.
So, but yeah, I'm very impressed by Arizona, and this team is just closing the year out in the way that I expected them to. When you watch them play, the talent jumps out. It's just a matter of, is this team locked in to close the deal? And they are locked in. I feel confident saying they are locked in. So big ups to Arizona as they look to. They can possibly finish ranked top 12 if they win the bowl and win out and win their bowl game. After everything plays out, this could be a top 12 season for them.
Yeah.
And again, like we said before, you position yourself to be right there to make the college football playoff once expansion starts.
You gotta be feeling good about that. Jed Fish has to be
Arizona fan. You feel really good about what's going on.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, like you cap off the season with 9 wins. I feel like they're going to a New Year's Six bowl. I think this team deserves to go to a New Year's Six bowl with the way that they've been playing. They've been playing lights out of their minds right now. You go to this bowl game, whichever one it is. You win that bowl game, cap off a 10-win season. Yeah, you're riding high for next year, knowing that you got the 12-team playoff looming, and hey, sky's the limit for you. You got a good team coming back.
And I know we don't talk much about losses, but like they truly have, I guess, the best like kind of resume, like the way to lose games. You lost 2 overtime games, one in OT and another in triple OT, and then the loss in regulation was on the road. Was on the road at Washington.
Yeah.
By 7 points, a 1-possession game. So even in defeat,
they look good.
They look good.
They look good. Like there's no way around it. Oh man, they look good, man. You got to give it to them.
You do.
They figured out what they need to do to become a successful football team. They figured some things out. And they didn't
let those losses, like you said, those losses happened early in the season. This team's on a winning streak. A lot of times, those losses can deflate you from having a special season. When you lose tight games like that, and you're a young bunch, not many young teams are resilient enough to bounce back from that.
Right.
So this team has proved all season long they are much wiser and beyond their years currently.
They are. They've grown up before our eyes, and now we just see how they finish. And like I said, as long as they can finish out strong, I feel like at Arizona State, I mean, it's a rivalry game. I mean, anything can happen, but I feel like this team is battle tested at this point, which means I feel like they're gonna take care of business this weekend. So
Likewise.
So yeah, I'm with you all the way, man. I'm loving this Arizona team. They're looking good. They're riding the high.
But both of our squads looking good. Your cards.
Hey, they look. They still figuring out ways to win, man. They look. Miami almost. They almost did it. But they couldn't quite knock out those Cardinals. I mean, look at that Cardinal logo.
That was a incredible game too to watch.
Yeah, it was.
Because Miami was right there. I mean, it was times where you thought Miami could win. When Louisville didn't get any points, that possession where they settled for a field goal in the red zone and missed it.
Yep.
I thought that was going to be the turning point of the ball game, but them cards.
They just keep fighting. They keep fighting, man.
Jack Plummer. He don't throw the prettiest passes, but they've been winning.
There you go. Yep. So it's it's going to be interesting even for them now. I think we feel like both Florida State and Louisville are going to go toe to toe with each other. In the
they are. I think you have to think so.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Louisville, you can't look ahead. I know the sky is falling in Lexington. Kentucky lost to South Carolina, but you can't overlook the Wildcats.
No,
you can't overlook them in this game.
No, you can't. It's because they have multiple times and they fell short.
Yes,
you gotta keep winning. that's all I can say about that.
They gotta win this game.
Yeah.
You have to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lose. You can't be a top 10 team in the nation and lose to this Kentucky team.
No.
This Kentucky team's not that good.
They're not
that. I said that good. This Kentucky team is not good. They just lost to South Carolina. Yeah. They aren't good.
Not a good team this year.
Not a good team. So Louisville has to win this one to end this regular season off the right way and put yourself in position for that New Year's Bowl that you deserve as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
So we we'll see what happens with Louisville. Georgia's still number one. I mean, it's Georgia at this point. I think that they're primed and ready, Chris, for trying to get that three-peat, that successful three-peat. So
definitely,
yeah, they were too much for number 18 Tennessee, and
as we anticipated.
Yeah, we'll see what happens between them and Alabama. It'll be the most anticipated SEC game of the year. I can't wait for the SEC championship game.
Yeah. So. Oh boy. Oh, some games left on the schedule, but yeah. Ooh.
It's so much, man. It's so much.
I mean, there's so many like de facto playoff games. Georgia, Bama.
Yeah.
Oregon, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, Michigan. I mean, you all three of those games, the winner solidifies himself in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they're all de facto playoff games in their own right.
I know. It's ridiculous. it is absolutely ridiculous.
We put together a playoff for the play. You know what I'm saying? We put together this whole playoff thing. Well, we got the playoff right here.
Yeah, this is it.
We ain't gotta wait till you know what I'm saying they make it all the way out there and to New Year's Eve. Like we got the playoff games right now coming up on the schedule, and it's the SEC championship, Pac-12 championship, and the game
Yep.
this Saturday at noon, big noon kickoff.
Big noon kickoff.
So yeah, I mean it's going to be fun to see how this thing closes out. I mean, as great of games we've already had, I think we have a couple more that are really going to blow us away on a level like Oregon Washington was. I think that's still probably the best game I've seen all year. When you look at how both those teams played in that ball game.
Yeah, that game was everything that as college football fans like us wanted.
That game, Texas Oklahoma,
Texas Bama.
Texas Bama was another really good game. Texas has had their hands in some wild ones. I mean, Texas Kansas State. You know, it wasn't the back and forth affair, but there was some good football played in that one. But with theatrics and dramatics, that was a wild one. But yes, overall, just football by both teams. That Washington Oregon game is the one for me. And I think we have a chance with Ohio State and Michigan to get that back and forth. It might not be the most aesthetically pleasing game, but I think we're going to get that back and forth affair that we all want to see in this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I think this game is probably going to be more run heavy and defensive heavy.
It's gonna be the fastest game you've seen played all season.
Yep.
That clock is gonna be rolling.
I know. I feel like that game is going to be very reminiscent of that Notre Dame Ohio State game that we saw earlier in the season, where it was very close. Like, a lot of defense was played, and somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. Will it end in that fashion, the way that game did? Maybe not. We'll see. But
we will see. It'll be interesting to see how Michigan responds, because Maryland put up a solid fight.
They did. Yeah, we didn't mention that. Like Maryland almost had Michigan's number, but
they almost did.
Still, Michigan is undefeated for now.
Michigan has some things to clean up. I don't expect J.J. McCarthy to have a red zone interception in this ball game coming up. But yeah, we're in store for some good ones, though, Kory.
We are. Well, that's it. That's all the games that we have for today, folks. Like we said, we very much appreciate y'all listening in on the show. Before we head out, Chris, go ahead and let the good folks know where they can follow you on social media.
Follow me on X at Chris_Bolton_12. And you can follow me on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_. Get at your boy.
Awesome. And you can follow me on X. It's at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking about college football, professional wrestling, video games, all of that good stuff. So, yeah, be sure to follow me on there.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. But yeah, that's it for us, guys. We will be back. It's interesting just because we have the Thanksgiving holiday. I know you got Black Friday coming up, so
Yeah. We do. We do need to figure. We might have to make a Wednesday show.
yeah. I'll say
We
this,
got some
folks.
games coming up Thursday and Friday
Yeah,
too.
I'll say this. Wednesday, be on the lookout for a brand new episode. And I think we'll have some nice news to kind of share throughout the midweek of course, as y'all get ready for Thanksgiving, hanging out with your families, and you also get a chance to get some early betting feelings out there. Get a couple of early betting predictions out there, I should say. But
Yes, sir.
just be on the lookout for Wednesday, I should say. So. But yeah, that's it for us, guys. We appreciate y'all listening in on the show, and until then, we will catch y'all later. Peace.
Peace.